For 13.8 billion years, the universe existed without ever knowing it existed. Stars were born and died in total silence. Galaxies spun. Light crossed distances no number can hold, and not one atom in all of that vastness ever stopped to ask a single question. Then, somewhere on a small wet rock orbiting an ordinary star, the universe opened its eyes and asked why it was here. That is you. That question is the strangest thing in the cosmos. So here is what we are really asking today. Why do humans exist at all? Not how. We know a good deal about how. We are asking something harder. In a universe that ran perfectly fine for billions of years with no one watching, why is there suddenly something that watches? Why is there a creature made of stardust that looks up at the stars it came from and feels something? If this is the kind of question that keeps you up at night, this is your channel. Subscribe to Whyverse, because we go to the places other channels are afraid to follow the question into. Nothing about you was promised. Nothing about you was owed. The answer is stranger than you think. Start with the body you are sitting in right now. Every atom of it was made somewhere else. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your teeth, the oxygen filling your lungs, none of it began on Earth. It was forged inside stars that lived and died long before the sun existed. When those stars collapsed and exploded, they scattered their guts across space. You are built from the ash of dead suns. Think of it like this. Imagine a great fire burns down to nothing, and from its cooling embers, something stands up, looks around, and starts asking who lit the match. That is the human story compressed into one image. We are the embers that learned to wonder. Now hold the timeline in your mind, because the scale is the whole point. If the entire history of the universe were squeezed into a single year, modern humans would not appear until the final minutes of December the 31st. Everything you have ever heard of, every empire, every song, every person you love, fits into the last few seconds before midnight. We are not the main event of the universe. We are the confetti that falls at the very end of the party. And for most of that cosmic year, the conditions for life did not exist anywhere. The early universe was too hot, then too empty, then too violent. It took generations of stars living and dying just to cook up the heavier elements a body needs. The universe had to practice building matter for billions of years before it could build a single cell. So when people say life was always going to happen, they are skipping over something enormous. The ingredients themselves are recent. The chemistry that makes you possible is younger than most of the stars in the sky. But that is only the surface, because the deeper you go into this, the stranger it gets. For a long time, people believed humans were the point, the reason, the destination the whole journey was heading toward. We told ourselves the universe was a stage, and we were what it was built to hold. The evidence says something colder. Nothing about your existence was aimed at. Evolution has no goal. It does not look ahead. It does not plan. And it was never trying to make you. It is simply what happens when things that copy themselves make tiny mistakes. And the lucky mistakes survive a little longer than the rest. Multiply that across 4 billion years of living and dying, and you get an oak tree, a jellyfish, a blue whale, and a creature that builds telescopes to study the very process that made it. Here is the part that should stop you. If you rewound the tape of life on Earth and let it play again from the start, there is no reason to expect humans would appear a second time. Change one ancient asteroid, one ice age, one chance mutation in one creature millions of years ago, and the entire branch that leads to you never grows. The dinosaurs ruled this planet for over 150 million years and never produced anyone to ask why they existed. They were wiped out by a rock from space. Only because they vanished did small mammals get their chance. Your existence is built on the single worst day in the history of life on Earth. So you are not the answer the universe was working toward. You are what happened to survive. And that raises a question far heavier than the one we started with. If we were never meant to be here, then what exactly are we? Stop, because what comes next is the part that genuinely unsettles physicists, and most people have never heard it. The universe did not just barely allow life. It appears to be balanced on a knife edge so fine it borders on the absurd. There are numbers built into reality. The strength of gravity, the force that holds atoms together, the mass of the tiniest particles, and if you nudged almost any of them even slightly, nothing interesting could ever form. Make one force a fraction stronger, and the universe collapses back on itself moments after it begins. Make it a fraction weaker, and matter never clumps into stars at all. No stars means no carbon. No carbon means no you. Picture a mixing board with dozens of dials. Every single dial has to sit within a razor-thin range, all at the same time, or the music never plays. And somehow, against staggering odds, every dial landed where it needed to. Now hold the two facts you have just learned side by side, because they seem to fight each other. The universe never aimed at you, and yet the universe seems precisely tuned to allow something like you. How can both of those be true at once? That tension is not a flaw in the story. It is the doorway to the deepest part of it. And here is what almost no one talks about. One way out of the paradox is an idea so large it changes the meaning of the word existence. What if our universe is not the only one? What if it is one bubble among countless others, each with its own settings, its own dials turned to its own random values? In that picture, almost every universe would be dead, empty, silent forever. But a rare few, by pure chance, would land on settings that allow stars, planets, and eventually minds. And of course, the only universe anyone could ever find themselves asking this question inside is one of the rare ones that permits askers. A dead universe has no one in it to notice it is dead. Sit with that for a moment, because it reframes everything. You are not proof that the universe is friendly. You are proof only that you exist in the kind of universe where existence is possible. The silence of all the others is built into the logic. The next part took scientists a long time to fully accept. As far as we can tell, in the entire observable universe across 2 trillion galaxies, we have found no one else. No signal, no reply, just the great silence. It is possible that mind, real awareness, the ability to ask why, is the rarest thing the cosmos has ever produced. Rarer than gold, rarer than black holes, rarer than anything you can name. And if that is true, then something quietly enormous is happening every time you think. The universe spent 13.8 billion years, burned through generations of stars, and survived an unbroken chain of near misses, all to produce a small handful of places where it could finally turn around and look at itself. You are one of those places. When you wonder about the stars are wondering about themselves through you. But none of that fully answers the original question. The real answer is both simpler and far more unsettling. Why do humans exist at all? The honest answer is that there is no reason in the way we usually mean the word. No one decided, no plan required it. You exist because of an unbroken chain of events that did not have to happen, stretching back to the first second of time. A particular star had to die. A particular rock had to fall. A particular cell had to make a particular mistake. Remove any single link, and the chain that ends in you breaks completely. But notice what that really means, because it is not as cold as it sounds. You are not common. You are not inevitable. You are not one more expected result of a process that would have produced you anyway. You are the opposite of all that. You are a one-time event in a universe that mostly does not do this. The improbability is not a flaw in your existence. The improbability is the value of it. Go back to where we began. The universe spent almost all of its life not knowing it existed. Stars burning in silence. Galaxies turning with no one to see. Then, for a few seconds at the very end of the cosmic year, on one small wet rock, it opened its eyes. That is not a small thing. That is the rarest event we have ever found anywhere, and the eyes it opened are yours. So think about what you actually are tonight. You are not a passenger in this story. You are the part of the universe that woke up. The atoms in your hands were made in stars. The water in your body fell as rain on a world that did not have to form. The thoughts moving through you right now are the cosmos doing something it almost never gets to do, which is notice that it is here. You will not last. None of us will. The arrangement that is, you will come apart, and the atoms will go on to be other things, the way they always have. But for this brief stretch of time, you are the universe awake and aware, and able to ask why. That is not nothing. That might be everything. And if you are the way the cosmos looks at itself, then the next question writes itself. What is it that you, the universe with eyes, are supposed to do with the short time you are open?